are compared to often forms the narrative that sticks with you your entire career. For TJ Watt, that narrative has followed him his entire life. Since his rookie year in 2017, his sacks, QB hits, pressures, TFLs, and forced fumbles have all increased year over year. This past season, he finished third in voting for Defensive Player of the Year and became the first Steeler ever to finish with multiple 13-sack seasons. His career is on a sky-high trajectory, but no matter how good he is, he will always be compared to his brother JJ, whose blend of speed, agility, and raw hulking power is arguably unrivaled in all of NFL history. For everything TJ has done up until now, JJ has blown it out of the water. He registered 74.5 sacks in his first 5 years. He's won Defensive Player of the Year 3 times, and is the only player ever with multiple 20-sack seasons. The only thing JJ doesn't have is career longevity. After a devastating injury in 2016, his production slowed to mere mortal levels. He's still good, but not close to that insane dominance during his first 5 years. TJ, still only 25 years old, has potential for that career longevity and the time to develop into an even better player than his brother. So just how good is he today, and which aspects can he still improve? The two brothers have many similarities, but also many differences, including size, position, surrounding personnel, usage rate, and scheme. TJ weighs 238 and rushes the passer as an outside linebacker in a 3-4 scheme, whereas JJ weighs 289 and plays primarily defensive end, but can really line up anywhere you can dream up. TJ does not have significant size for his position, so he uses speed moves as his primary method of attacking the quarterback, then works counter moves off of that. He is so quick off the edge, offensive tackles are always oversetting outside to choke off that angle, which gives him room to counter back inside. To maximize his speed and talent, the Steelers use several schematic advantages to give him one-on-one matchups. He often lines up way outside in a wide 9 technique, with either a D tackle or linebacker positioned over the guard to ensure he's one-on-one in a ton of space with a tackle who is much slower. One of the reasons he's so good is the first 3 steps of his get-off look the same every time. He'll begin upfield with the speed rush angling to the outside, then determine how the tackle is reacting, and make his second move based off that. You can tell Jesse Davis is petrified of him taking the edge. Look at his kick set off the ball. He is not about to let Watt beat him with speed around the edge. He's supposed to maintain his positioning in between the pass rusher and the QB, but Watt's speed forces him out of position. Watt sees he's overset for the speed move, so he transitions to his counter, the chop swim. It doesn't have to be crazy effective or overly exaggerated because of just how far out of position Davis is. The chop hits right on target, flush on the elbow, buckling Davis's arm. Then he uses a swim to finish him off and lays a massive hit on the quarterback. To ensure the move works, this linebacker is super important. He completely wastes the guard and creates extra space inside. Plus, Watt's ability to sell the speed rush till the very last second is integral. If he fires inside here, it might give Davis time to recover, and if the linebacker wasn't holding the guard, he could slide outside to help out. Watt's most impressive quality is the speed he generates throughout his pass rush. Despite reading Davis while sprinting at full speed and changing his path to the QB on the fly, he's always building speed and momentum with each step of his rush, and torpedoes himself right at the quarterback. A pass rusher this fast against an offensive tackle is already a mismatch, but putting that tackle in this much space just is not fair. The Steelers consistently use different alignments to ensure Watt's getting that one-on-one matchup. He's lined up as a D-end in their nickel front, and next to him is a defensive tackle in a 2-eye alignment on the inside shoulder of the guard. He has to respect that alignment, even if the Rams slide their protection so the center can give help on Watt's side. The defensive tackle's alignment is too tight to the guard for him to come off and double outside. The Rams keep running back Todd Gurley in to protect against the blitz and chip Watt before going out for a pass, so the Steelers blitz their linebacker to hold Gurley and guarantee that one-on-one matchup outside. Just one play before, Watt started with speed outside, then countered with a spin, so that's fresh in right tackle Rob Havenstein's mind. When Watt again releases straight upfield, Havenstein keeps his set slightly inside to protect against that same spin move. These are the kinds of plays that show Watt's flashes of elite potential. He's so quick, Havenstein has to abandon his position inside to turn and sprint backwards to cover the outside. Watt sees him off balance, so he flashes his arm like he's going to bull rush to hold him in place, which forces Havenstein's hand. To counter a bull rush, he wants to place his arms under Watt's and lift upwards to neutralize his power, but Watt's thinking 2 steps ahead. He knows the split second he sees those arms, Havenstein won't continue moving backwards at the same rate, so he dips his entire body down underneath his reach. If Watt can't bend and rotate his hips on a flat trajectory towards the QB, he'll get pushed upfield and the entire move will be wasted. He's flexible enough that he does swivel those hips towards Goff. Havenstein basically tries to choke him out, but he takes the edge and finishes with the sack. Watt talked about how during the season, his increased attention to detail in film study elevated his game. But film study isn't just studying your opponent's tendencies, it's studying your own as well. The following week against the Browns, the Steelers use a similar front like in the Dolphins play, where they position their linebackers across from the guard to simulate the threat of a blitz, which gives Watt more than enough space to work. He starts straight upfield to build speed and threaten the edge. The tackle Chris Hubbard is set a bit too far inside, so again, Watt flashes his arms, but instead of dipping around the edge, he uses speed to power and bull rushes. This forces Hubbard to open the gate, which means his hip flies open, reducing all of the power in his lower body. He still manages to get his hands out first, but Watt's pad leverage and bend are fantastic. His ability to combine his acceleration with the power of his bull rush is outstanding. All his power builds through his legs and transitions through his body as he finishes straight through the pads. You can see him start low, then drive Hubbard straight upwards, lifting him off the ground and throwing him into Baker. His understanding of hand movement, adaptability during the rush, and maintaining speed and momentum without slowing down are rare tools for anyone his age to have. So if TJ is this good, and his tools truly are rare, what makes JJ so much better? For one, JJ almost never comes out of the game, whereas TJ occasionally will rest for 3 to 4 plays at a time, and comes out on most first and second downs in the red zone. JJ's conditioning is absolutely incredible, especially for being 50 pounds heavier, and his versatility along the defensive line and within any defensive scheme truly sets him apart. He can literally play any technique in any position. He'll line up head up on the center, all the way down the line to outside in a wide 9, whereas TJ simply just isn't big enough to bump inside. To illustrate what kind of a nightmare JJ was for offensive linemen to block, let's focus on one specific offensive tackle, Goster Cherilus' experience over 2 different games in 2014 to show how terrifying it truly was. One thing surprising about Watt's game is his reliance on speed when rushing the passer. You'd think he'd use his massive body to just bull rush linemen into oblivion, but he actually prefers to use finesse moves to get to the quarterback. Offensive linemen are already so petrified of his strength, his surprising quickness helps him just speed right around them. Watt is so quick, if they take one false step, they're cooked. He's lined up in a tight 5 technique with the protection sliding towards him. He uses what's called a jab and go. A jab step refers to the pass rusher taking a step inside, and go means he's going to try and win the race around the edge with speed. Because the protection is sliding towards him, his best bet is to take the edge, so he needs to create space outside to win. He knows the guard is sliding towards him, so he can't go inside, because that's where the double team is waiting to swallow him up. You can see the line initially stepping outside due to the slide, but when Cherilus sees Watt's jab step, he takes just 1 step back inside, which proves to be fatal. The speed in Watt's get-off and acceleration are just at a different level. He embarrasses Cherilus on a move that will haunt his dreams until, well, their next matchup just a few weeks later. Watt has a special ability to create pressure when things go off script. Even when his first move doesn't work, he'll still disrupt the quarterback's timing and will then use the failed move to counter off later in the game. Cherilus initially does a good job maintaining his position between Watt and the quarterback, but Watt's so quick around the edge, it forces Cherilus to fall off balance. Watt uses one of his go-to moves, the long arm, which is a powerful one-handed strike to the pads to drive Cherilus backwards. But the move doesn't connect, so he bends down and tries to rip around the edge. This is not how the move was supposed to work, but since his speed forces Cherilus off balance, and he has incredible power and bend around the edge, he still creates pressure on the quarterback. On the very next play, he's lined up in a similar position a few yards outside of Cherilus, and uses a move that initially looks exactly the same. Watt fires off the ball at the same angle, and Cherilus again starts out in good position. When he sees Watt showing similar intentions to the outside, he lunges at him to make sure he's again protecting the edge. Watt uses the same long arm move, but with one little difference. As he sees Cherilus overextending outside, the long arm mid-move turns into a club. Instead Instead of punishing Chairless with power, he punishes him with his own momentum. This is such a fluid movement to cross his face, then finish with a swim move all in one swoop. He flattens his arm on the swim move to ensure that Chairless can't recover. What really sells this move is the speed and depth at which he pushes upfield. He's almost past Chairless when he begins his counter. Chairless has no choice but to completely overcommit his body and throw himself outside to try and prevent his impending doom. Linemen repeatedly get torched by his speed in the passing game, and that's partly because they're so threatened by the strength he exhibits in the running game. With his power in the back of their minds, his speed rush and finesse moves become that much more lethal. Take this play, for example. The Colts are in heavy personnel with 3 tight ends and are running duo, which references the concept's designed to create as many double teams as possible. The running back is assigned to read the Mike linebacker through the play side double team. He'll try to manipulate him to jump into the wrong hole, then cut back to open space. Watt uses a technique we talked about in the Javon Kinlaw episode, where he drives one knee into the ground to take on the double team. The key to defeating double teams is not to attack both linemen at once, but to choose one and drive him backwards. Based on how quickly he throws his knee into the dirt, you can tell he was anticipating the Colts' running duo. He hits Chairless and swivels his body inside to limit the surface area the tight end can contact him. Then as Watt feels Chairless trying to move off him to the second level, he pops up into the gap. The running back sees the Mike linebacker through the B gap, so he presses outside for a step to influence him away, which works, and gives Chairless leverage to push him outside. If Watt doesn't win on this double team, there's a wide open B gap for a 15-yard gain, but he crushes the tight end's block and demolishes the back. These examples are from 5 years back during the prime of JJ's career. How can TJ elevate his game to get to that next level? Simply put, his power moves in his pass rush need work. He needs to develop his bull rush technique, then add moves he can use off of it. He'll use those power moves from time to time, but he doesn't always look comfortable using all of his strength to explode through linemen. It doesn't matter who you are. If you don't have at least the thread of power in your arsenal, your talent is never going to reach its true potential. At this point in 2020, TJ is slotted into a pretty defined role in the Steelers' defense, and he does a pretty damn good job at it. For the rest of his career, he could master that one role and become a very good player. Heck, he already is, but he won't become a transcendent player like his brother. Prime JJ could be put in any position on any team in any era and produce those same historic results. For TJ to become that type of player, he needs to expand his power rushing proficiency and demonstrate more versatility for the Steelers to feel comfortable aligning him anywhere in their defense. However, TJ has that one thing that JJ doesn't: time. He has the time to learn, to become more versatile, to develop into a player that changes his lifelong narrative. He'll no longer be JJ's younger brother. He'll be TJ Watt.